EARTHBOUND in of itself is a pretty unique game. When it comes to the game world, the characters, and the story, it's pretty easy to say that Giygas Itoi, the series creator, was on some sort of creative high when he wrote this stuff, but I feel that the most unique thing about this series comes in the form of the boss battles, and just how they're handled within the game itself. Final bosses usually end up taking the skills and talents and all that sort of crazy bullshit you learned and put them to the test with some sort of difficulty spike or add a gameplay element to add a little bit more spice to the pan. But in this series, it's pretty much the opposite of that. Itoi chose to have the bosses play a crucial role in the overall story of their respective games, and use them as a tool to carry the story forward and bring out the emotions he's been trying to convey throughout the course of the story. It's really freaking cool, and this design philosophy goes all the way back to the original mother on the Famicom. Now named EARTHBOUND Beginnings over here in the US of A, this game takes us on the journey of Ninten, Anna, Lloyd, and Teddy to stop some freaky alien boys from doing some naughty shit. The big baddie of them all, Giygas, is in control of these aliens, and it's up to you and your squad of little baby bumblebees to put an end to it. Now, it's pretty easy to predict that this guy is going to be the final boss, but the way you go about fighting him is completely bass-backwards. Like, okay, let me ask you a question here. When you see a big freaking alien guy that looks like Mewtwo a little bit, staring at you with cold, lifeless eyes, what's the first thing you're gonna think about doing? Maybe you're gonna take your baseball bat and take a swing at him.
See you in hell, big boy!
Or maybe you wanna send some bottle rockets and make a couple little explosions, or, this is kind of a stretch here, but maybe you want to use all the PSI moves that have been cleaning house since the beginning of your friggin' adventure. You think any of those would work? No, not even in the slightest. Why would you think that, you idiot? No, my honeys, the way to defeat Giygas here, the greatest strat, is to sing at him. You sing at an alien guy. Look, I know this sounds weird and just freaking wacky ass, and that's because it is. I mean, in what scenario would you look at a big freaky alien dude and say, you know what, I'm gonna sing at him and hope for the best? The answer is none. You would never do that. But once you look at the story, once you take a deep dive into the lore, the meaning starts to shine through. You see, way back in the 1900s, a couple by the names of George and Maria were abducted by an alien species, Giygas' people. Maria was kind of like a mother to Giygas and raised him like any good mother would, giving him bubble baths and a whole bunch of nice cuddly hugs. But George was kind of the opposite. Actually, not kind of, he was the opposite. Instead of showing Giygas the love and care he needed, George decided to experiment on Giygas and study his PSI abilities without the okay from the higher-ups, and ended up returning to Earth 2 years later with the knowledge and secrets of this alien species. This, of course, kind of pissed them off, so they sent Giygas down to Earth with a whole bunch of stuff and said, now listen here, sonny buddy, you better take this dude out before I start giving you a big old spanking. And while he was reluctant to do so, Giygas did exactly what he was told, went to Earth, and presumably wiped out George from the face of the planet. So what does all of this mean, and why is a song the key to defeating Giygas? Well, here's why, baby chicken. You see, Giygas was conflicted with his actions from the very beginning. He never wanted to hurt his family, but reluctantly did so. This obviously created a ton of inner turmoil within himself, and it's kind of easy to see because, he feels like he betrayed the very people who raised him, his parents, and that's something you don't quite get over easily. The song you sing to Giygas at the end of the game is known as the 8 Melodies, and we find out very close to endgame that this was the very song his adoptive mother Maria sang to him when he was a child. By opening this very, very painful wound, Giygas is forced to retreat because he still can't quite deal with the memories of what he's done. And once you realize what's going on here, like as things are happening in the game, it really opens up your eyes to the true beauty of this story. EARTHBOUND Beginnings is a tragedy. It's all about the pain Giygas feels for his actions, the remorse for killing his family, and his inability to cope with his feelings. This makes the character of Giygas extremely compelling and interesting. It made this character feel almost human in a way. Which, that's quite an accomplishment because he's a freaky alien dude. But let me tell you, my beautiful baby bees, things only get worse from here. shit. EARTHBOUND is the game that brought Mother into the 16-bit world. The game looks prettier, sounds crazier, and plays unlike anything else before it. This game is my favorite of the bunch, and not only because it's where my journey into the Mother series began, but because the feelings I got playing this game were just like the gameplay itself, unlike anything else before it. The story goes like this. 4 kids go on a journey to stop some freaky alien guys from doing some naughty shit. Sound familiar? Well, it should, because it's pretty much the same goddamn story. Yeah, the story is similar, pretty much copy-paste if you want to be real, but EARTHBOUND acts as a sequel to the game before it, which obviously was the original Mother, if you couldn't quite figure that one out. So, after getting his ass kicked by Nintendo and his beautiful bunch of baby bees all those years ago, Giygas returns once again to try to take over the world. Because of this, 4 kids are chosen to journey all across the land to find 8 mystical locations, the 8 melodies, and defeat the big bad alien boy once and for all. And just like before, the final boss is where everything kinda comes together. I feel that the most important thing to remember going into this fight is that this is the very same Giygas we faced all those years ago in the first game. Meaning, Giygas' story and all the baggage he had from then still carries over into this fight. Much like the first time, you don't fight Giygas head-on. Instead, you have Paula pray in hopes to extend a hand out to the people you've met on your journey. What's interesting about this, though, is the fact that the 8 melodies are nowhere to be heard here. Yet, Giygas still goes down in a much similar fashion as he did before. But why is that the case? I mean, he isn't being reminded of any memories of Maria, his adoptive mother, so why exactly is he kneeling down again? Well, it's because he actually is being reminded of her, just not directly. Now, I don't know how emotions work with Giygas' species or aliens in general. In fact, I don't even think any of us know what's going on here because we really don't know anything about Giygas' race, period. However, we do know that he has experienced human love and kindness before because of Maria. Her love left a mark on Giygas, and it's pretty easy to say that that mark is still there because of Giygas' actions at the end of the original Mother. These emotions have worked against Giygas before. He couldn't cope with them so many years ago, and after that fight, he realized this. So now, he has managed to repress all of those feelings, this hatred manifesting itself from within, creating the being of pure evil we see now. What's also important to note here is that Giygas' influence is everywhere through Eagleland, and we can see that clear as day throughout the game itself. When it comes to the people, animals, and inanimate objects alike, all of them have been acting strangely because of Giygas' immense outreach. So, okay, if he influences all things right now, what happens when an influx of love and kindness occurs from the beings he's been influencing? The voices of thousands reaching out with compassion, support, and nurturing spirits. The answer? A complete systematic meltdown. Just as before, Giygas is working against himself here, but a bit differently this time. While not outright listening to the lullabies of his mother, Giygas is being forced to feel again, uplifting all of those repressed emotions that plagued him before, the guilt, the sorrow, the shame, all of it. It's here where he's forced to face the sun again, and because of his all-encompassing influence, he's not just feeling the love from 4 people, he's feeling it from thousands. This proves to be a bit too much for him, and within a few seconds, he cracks. This is where the unfortunate tragedy of Giygas comes to a close, but this is not the end of his legacy. Which brings us here to the final game in the Mother series, Mother 3. Now, what sucks about this whole thing, at least for me making the video, is the fact that because Mother 3 is so detached from almost everything from EARTHBOUND Beginnings and EARTHBOUND, I can't quite make a seamless transition to EARTHBOUND and Mother 3 as I did with EARTHBOUND Beginnings and EARTHBOUND. Shit. However, there is one key component, one key character that kinda brings everything together. Ladies and gentlemen, drum roll please. Meet Porky Minch. If you guys have seen my other stuff, you know exactly who this is, but if not, here's a little summary from yours truly, describing who this big hoss actually is. Porky Minch was Ness's neighbor and pretty much his only friend, who felt betrayed by Ness when he wouldn't say anything to him. He later wound up being corrupted by Giygas' influence, and is now one of the most cruel and twisted individuals in the entire Mother series. Splicing robots and animals together for fun, introducing greed and corruption into a peaceful village, and leading a massive pig mask army to take over the world, forcing everybody to bend to his will in the process. He's also like 10 or something. Felt that I should add that little detail in there, cause goddamn, I don't think I was that bad. But that's Porky Minch. Got it? Good. I'm proud of you guys. That was quite a bit to take in there. So, okay, why did I take all this time to explain how much of a non-evil character Porky is? Well, because of Porky Minch, everything that's happened in Mother 3 was set into action. Because of Porky Minch, Tazmily Village, the once peaceful town, has been reduced to a state of paranoia and ruin. Because of Porky Minch, abominations run wild, making the once peaceful lands kinda creepy. Because of Porky Minch and his creations, we see the untimely demise of Hinawa, Lucas's mother. And through his twisted, sick, childish mindset, we see the creation of the Masked Man, the first human chimera, effectively tearing this entire family apart limb from limb. Which leads us to here. Now this right here is nothing new to me. I've talked about the Masked Man and the ending of this game multiple times at this point. It was the first time I actually cried during a video game, actually, and it's pretty powerful stuff, but what I feel really got me here was how this final scene wrapped up everything together in a tight little piece. You finally found your brother after years and years of searching and misery, only to see what a monster he has become. And you can't bring yourself to attack him because even though he's just a shell of who he really was, he still means a lot to you. Throughout the course of the fight, we even see appearances from the entire family, of Flint saving you from a lightning attack, and Hinawa bringing Klaus to his senses. And after everything that happens, Klaus passing in your arms and pulling the final needle, we finally get to see this family reunited once again after all this time, and get to see how things would have been, should have been, had none of these events taken place. It's a masterful way to bring the story of Lucas and his family to a close, a family that has somehow managed to stay together even during the hardest of times. Shigesato Itoi is a masterful writer, and these games, everything about these games shows it. This is just another piece of the puzzle as to why I love this game series so much, and the effects it's had on pretty much everybody I've talked about it with. It's crazy, man. It's really fucking cool. I don't quite know how to end this. If you're looking for a sappy little conclusion with smiles and tears playing, I can't say that's what you're gonna get this time, but I really hope you enjoyed today's video. I had a lot of fun making it this time, and I really hope that you guys enjoy it just as much. So, with that being said, guys, my name is BeeSquared, and as always, keep on keeping on.